Hello everyone, Ray here. The P10 Plus and the Mate 9. Is it an upgrade or an update? This is probably the reason why you've clicked this video. Let's have a look. We are comparing the P10 Plus to the Mate 9 today, not the Mate 9 Pro. One of the biggest reasons would be the screens. For those who are ignoring the Mate 9 Pro simply because the curved AMOLED display, the two phones here thankfully are still rocking the good old LCD-based IPS displays and are flat. Now, choosing between the 5.9 inches Mate 9 and the 5.5 inches P10 Plus, the difference in the size is definitely not negligible. But thanks to the higher screen-to-body ratio on the Mate 9, which is 77.5%, it is not a whole lot larger than the P10 Plus. But still, the Mate 9 is barely one-hand manageable. Well, you can, but it's a really dangerous move. Alright, the design. There's no comparison. The Mate 9 just looks almost identical to other Chinese phones with metal bodies. The antennas on the top and the bottom are even slightly darker than the main body, while the chamfered edges bring the dull and ordinary design to life, but you can also feel them in your hands, together with the boxy design, not the smoothest texture on earth. The P10 Plus, in the meantime, just like the Mate 9, has got a relatively smaller chassis compared to phones with the same screen size, in this case the Pixel XL, thanks to those slim bezels especially on the two sides. With the iPhone-like one-piece seamless metal unibody design, also the overall rounder shape, it is easily manageable with one hand, but also slippery. The silky smooth, just under 7mm thin metal unibody contributes to its incredibly slippery texture. It is well built and well designed. It also looks sleek and stylish. The size also at a sweet spot, but is also arguably tricky to handle with one hand. The hardware though, the P10 Plus has once again got a better crafted power button than the Mate 9. It's got a distinct texture and is circled with a red ring. IR Blaster for easier remote control, 3.5mm headphone jack, USB Type-C port with USB on-the-go support, and the dual speaker setup, however, are almost the same. Actually the same. The only noticeable difference would be the fingerprint sensor. The back-mounted sensor on the Mate 9 carries the one-hand friendly gestures from Android 7.0. It does matter, especially on massive phones. While the P10 series, having a fingerprint sensor on the front could be handy in some situations, but it's simply not a good idea to combine all the back, recent apps, home buttons and also the fingerprint reader at the same place, when you've got such plenty of rooms for dedicated navigation buttons. For me, I've got used to it within minutes, but I'm pretty sure some people will take longer or maybe their entire lifetime. You can definitely switch back to the on-screen button, but it takes up the screen, on a smaller 5.5 inches display. So overall, the P10 Plus is a better built phone, with a slicker design and a more manageable form factor. The Mate 9, however, despite the size of the screen, it is kind of one-hand manageable, thanks to the genius gestures. Before we check out the cameras, let's briefly compare the software and the real-world performance. The P10 Plus is running the latest EMUI 5.1 skin over Android 7.0, however, it's literally the exact same user experience we've got on the Mate 9, so feel free to watch the full reviews on each of the devices to learn more. You won't be disappointed by Huawei's latest flagships. Performance though is definitely one of the major concerns. For both existing Mate 9 or new Huawei users, we are getting 6GB of RAM as standard on the P10 Plus, with 128GB of storage. You can definitely get the same configuration on the Mate 9, but only in some parts of the world. The one here packs only 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. Processing power, however, should be identical. The same Kirin 960 processor clocked at 2.4 GHz is found on either of them. But software does matter. The Mate 9 Pro stutters a lot while playing modern 3D titles. Graphics-intensive games are barely playable on the gorgeous 2K Quad HD display. The P10 Plus, on the other hand, handles the same game, even the same level, perfectly smooth, without even a single frame drop. Still, the 1080p-based Mate 9 handles all games without any issue at the first place. But other than gaming, the P10 Plus shows marginal improvement in day-to-day navigation as well. Launching simple apps like the dialer, Facebook, the P10 Plus shows a half a millisecond improvement over the Mate 9, or maybe slightly more than that. Not a huge step up though. While according to the standard apps opening speed test, the P10 Plus used a whole minute to fire up all the large games alone, 7 seconds slower than the Mate 9. And resulted in the much less promising result in the first round. Is it really the UFS ROM storage issue? It offers mainstream flagship performance at the end, so not a huge deal. Here we've come to the second round. Despite the Mate 9 packs only 4GB of RAM, Huawei's RAM management is simply one of the best out there. Background apps switching is literally instant. Oh, of course, the P10 Plus handles multitasking without any issue, with 6GB of RAM. Overall performance and features are not the major reason for us to pick one other than the other one. Now, probably the reason why you are still here. Both of them pack some amazing Leica optics, but on the P10 Plus, we have a higher-end Summilux f1.8 lens, compared to the f2.2 Summarit on the Mate 9. Both of them's got optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, and face detection autofocus. The camera app's also identical. Similar to Huawei's approach, it's got a 3-pages layout. And with all those modes, including light painting and monochrome, feel free to watch my full review to learn more. We are here to find out the differences. Although they've got the same dual lens mode that simulates bokeh effect from 0.95 to f16 aperture, the P10 series got a new portrait mode. It detects faces automatically and gently blur out the background. Nothing special, but the key is, the first time ever, Huawei's put some Leica optics on the front as well. So the same magic is here even while you are taking selfies. It does capture some of the most detailed selfies, with adequate skin softening effect. But the portrait mode's barely usable on the front camera. Alright, let's check out the image quality of the rear camera. In terms of megapixels count, they are the same. Image processing on the P10 Plus is also more or less the same as the Mate 9. Under broad daylight, color saturation, white balance, and the details captured are identical. Still, they capture detailed images with the same Leica DSLR-like color effect. This time around, the difference is once again marginal, but if your display shows a wide enough color gamut, the red on the P10 Plus is slightly darker and less artificial. Details, however, still the same. This particular shot, though, they are literally exactly the same. The white balance, contrast, dynamic range, and the clarity, even the way they process the noise in the shadows is the same. Interesting. Okay, when it comes to extreme backlight scenes, the superior Summilux lens shows its advantages in capturing all those details in the shadows, finally, with slightly wider dynamic range and more accurate color reproduction, especially the color red. Same here, the P10 Plus handles lens flare slightly better. On the Mate 9, the lens flares shifted the white balance to the reddish side, and the P10 Plus also manages to maintain the details in the shadows crisp and clear. This time around, they gave the same dynamic range, but again, the P10 Plus renders all the colors, in this case green, more accurate and detailed. You can see all the distinct layers of light and dark green on P10's image. With slightly higher contrast, the image pops out a little bit more. And look at the white tulip. The P10 Plus did a significant better job in capturing the bright white color. The P10 Plus might handle lens flare slightly better, with slightly wider dynamic range and slightly more details, also slightly more defined colors. But image processing is still far from perfect. Over-sharpening effect on the P10 Plus has shown no improvement at all. Finally, the sun's setting, and this is when the f1.8 aperture shines. At a glance, you will be disappointed by the brightness and the color saturation produced by the P10 Plus. It's actually more or less the same as the image taken with the Mate 9, but once again, once we zoom in, we'll find the P10 Plus captured way more details, especially on the castle. The second one, same color reproduction, no improvement on the brightness neither. But again, once we zoom in, the P10 Plus captured a whole lot more details, especially on the tower bridge. This time, the Mate 9 captured an even brighter image. The P10 Plus, however, gave higher contrast and much less digital noise. Again, it also delivered sharper and more well-defined red color, with far better details and much less noise. Now check out the details of the images and compare the settings in auto mode. Due to the narrower f2.2 aperture, the Mate 9 extended the exposure time to 1/4 of a second, while boosting the ISO to over 1000. Just to get the same amount of light the P10 Plus has got in 1/7 of a second, with ISO set to 800. As a result, not only did the P10 Plus generated much less noise, but also delivered a much more responsive and snappy feeling while shooting low-light scenarios. Again, the difference is negligible. Both the details and the saturation are on the same level. They also use the same shutter speed setting in this particular shot. However, the ISO on the P10 Plus is one step lower, at 640. It's quite obvious now. Instead of bringing in more light, the wider f1.8 aperture on the P10 Plus actually captures the same amount of light in a much shorter period of time and lower ISO settings. When it comes to extreme low-light environment, the P10 Plus gives noticeably less noise and more defined details. This time, even though the Mate 9 holds up really well, the P10 Plus gives much better clarity on the background. Oh, don't forget, it shoots with faster shutter speed, so you'll be more likely to get the perfect shot the first time you hit the shutter button. Overall, during daytime, the P10 Plus handles the dynamic range lens flare arguably slightly, marginally better. At night, however, the wider aperture gives the same brightness and color saturation as the Mate 9, but with much less noise and slightly more details. Video recording, unfortunately, over-sharpening effect and jello effect are still there. Usable but not impressive. If the upgraded camera hasn't impressed you yet, the display on the P10 Plus is much improved. You're right, gaming or video watching on a 5.9 inches display is magnificent. But 1080p on a much larger display, it's easy to notice the extra sharpness on the P10 Plus, especially while reading small texts. The P10 Plus has also corrected the cooler greenish tint we've found on the Mate 9. The white balance is now pleasing to the eyes, with a natural look. Color reproduction is also on another level. The P10 Plus gives much more vibrant color, almost like an AMOLED display, and with a whopping contrast ratio at 1600 to 1. The same image has got way more depth to it. The display is definitely one of the biggest upgrades over the Mate 9. Meanwhile, the terrific pair of dual speakers we've found on the Mate 9 is here as expected. They deliver even stronger bass and richer mids than the boom sound speakers on HTC's latest flagships. Headphone audio output though, not exciting at all. Still the same mainstream flagship performance. You won't be disappointed, definitely usable, just not a huge step up. Last but certainly not least, the battery life. Unfortunately, due to the smaller, slimmer chassis, the P10 Plus packs only a 3750 mAh battery, still above the average but when it's compared to the 4000 mAh battery on the Mate 9. According to the first round of our battery life test, the P10 Plus performed significantly worse than the Mate 9 after 4 hours of YouTube videos playback at maximum screen brightness. However, as we've concluded on the full review, the screen's ridiculously bright on the P10 Plus, so in the second round, all the tests were done at 50% brightness, much closer to what you are probably experiencing in day-to-day media consumption. So after an hour of YouTube videos playback, another hour of Facebook surfing, and finally an hour of Clash Royale gameplay, altogether 3 hours of media consumption. The P10 Plus has finally back to normal. It performed actually identical to the Mate 9, even better than the S8 Plus. The Mate 9 Pro, however, still the king in battery life. Oh, don't forget the quick charge technology. The same whopping 22.5 watt charging is here. Battery life and charging wouldn't be the major concern while choosing between the two really great performers. So, the P10 Plus and the Mate 9, which one should you pick? Performance, features, the amazing dual speaker setup and headphone audio quality are more or less the same. Now the P10 Plus is better built, with a sleeker design, a camera that handles backlight scenes lens flare better, and captures the night with more details, thanks to the upgraded Summilux f1.8 lens. The display might also be one of the biggest reasons for you guys to pick up the P10 Plus rather than the Mate 9. Newer version software also brings better optimization, especially on gaming, but just keep in mind that unless you are getting the Mate 9 Pro with a Quad HD display, you will be getting the same seamless gaming experience on the Mate 9 as well. For existing Mate 9 users, there's actually not much reasons for us to upgrade. But if you are new to Huawei, the P10 Plus would be the safer bet, unless you really need that massive display. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here for you to watch next. See you next time.